Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 227 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is a fish that we talked about in the past, or at least a fish like this one in the past, but it has been a while and there are only two real species of this fish. So I thought it would be nice to cover the second species and hopefully give people a little bit of a refresher. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is bam! The white crappie. Now, the white crappie, or scientific name Pomoxis annularis, again, that's Pomoxis annularis. It is part of the family Centrarchidae, which is the family of sunfish. And we've talked about sunfish many times in the past, and that's because it's a very large and important family. And this fish is really no exception. Now, this fish is native to the Great Lakes, Mississippi River basins. And it's found all the way from New York to Texas, and very, very prevalent throughout the Mississippi River Basin. Predominantly, it's found in your larger rivers, reservoirs, and lakes. And they really prefer those low velocity areas of those rivers if they are in those rivers. And they don't necessarily require a lot or really any aquatic vegetation, which is why they are so prevalent in reservoirs and lakes. And that is a reason why they've actually been stocked throughout the United States. They're probably one of the most stocked fish, or at least most prevalent fish, and that are non-native to lakes across the United States. I'm not going to say it's the most, because bass, largemouth bass, probably still edges this out. And I don't know of, at least in Texas, I don't know if they are doing active crappie stocking. They might be, but I don't know if they are. But where this fish was stocked in the past, it's doing very, very well. These fish are very, very prolific and can number very high. These are extremely prolific fish that have no problem adapting and surviving to environments outside of their native range. Now it does prefer turbid waters, like I said, which is kind of neat because the black crappie actually prefers clearer, faster moving waters. And so in areas where there's low flow, a lot of turbidity, and low aquatic vegetation, usually white crappie will outcompete black crappie, so you'll have more white crappie instead of black crappie in a reservoir. And a lot of people don't understand the differences, which we'll talk about later. Now, it is a smaller fish, kind of, in terms of how large fish can get. Rarely gets over 0.91 kilograms, which is around 2 pounds, and they usually get around 23 to 25 centimeters, which is 9 to 10 inches. However, the maximum weight, according to the IGFA, is 2.35 kilograms, which is 5.2 pounds, and the max length is 39 centimeters, which is 15 inches. Interesting little tidbit, those are actually separate records. The IGFA maximum weight was caught in 1957, and the IGFA maximum length one was actually caught in 2022. So real huge gap in time from when these records were made, and apparently the weight has still never been broken. So there is a bit of range. These fish can get larger than those 9 to 10 inches, but not that much. Like I said, max length is around 15, but a 12-13 inch crappie is a monster. That is a fish that you would be proud to catch if you're a crappie fisherman, I think, no matter where you are. Now, in terms of coloration, they are more barred than black crappie. Oops. So if you remember our video, which I doubt many of you do, I believe it was in the 150s. So around a year and 4 months ago. The black crappie is very, very spotted throughout the body, whereas the white crappie is going to have these barring going down the sides. Usually, even though it's still a little spotted, it's one of those characteristics that, oh, the spotting is slightly more congealed into bars on white crappie versus black crappie. Yeah, it's a very... it's not a characteristic I like, but it does have this very terminal mouth, very large for the size of the fish. Crappie have much bigger mouths than people think. In terms of coloration, it's got this kind of silvery green brownish back with the slightly greener sides with a very pale white belly. Like I said, it's covered in these black barring to spots, congealing pattern. It does, like many other sunfish, have a spiny first dorsal fin, and a soft rayed second dorsal fin. It's actually one dorsal fin, I shouldn't say split. So they have this dorsal fin with spines. They also have a spiny anal fin as well. And the dorsal fin's set a little farther back in the body than some other fish. It's not the most farther back, but it does, you can tell here, and if you've ever seen a crappie, you know that it has a very deep body. That is why it's one of the panfish. It's not the panfish of like the Lepomis, which are the sunfish, but it can get very, very wide and deep bodied. And it really won't get as thick. I'm not saying it doesn't get thick, because I've seen some pretty hefty crappie, like I've said. In terms of spawning, they spawn really when temperatures reach 13 degrees Celsius, which is around 56 degrees Fahrenheit. And that seems to be the predominant factor. Whenever that range hits, which usually is going to be somewhere between May and June, when temperatures reach that, the males will actually create a bowl-shaped depression, usually near structure, and they will actually guard the nest. The female only lays the eggs. The male is the one who actually guards the nest and then takes care of the fry, which, if you've been a part of the channel and we've talked about Lepomis and other sunfish, that's actually much more prevalent in Centrocridae than a lot of people think. A lot of people think, you know, oh, fish don't take care or this and that. And it's not just that fish will take care of their young. And a lot of times it seems like the male might be more prevalent in guarding the young than the females. Something interesting about this fish that I found was they use a pause and travel search predatory program. So they'll swim for a little bit and then they'll pause. And they really are only going after food when they're pausing. They're not really just sitting in a singular spot ambushing, but they're not just actively swimming like a shark or a tuna. They're kind of swimming to a spot and then staying there, seeing if food comes in, then swimming to another spot and sitting there, staying there. It's really, really bizarre. Now, it is one of the most commonly fished for fish, I think, in the United States. A lot of people love fishing for crappie. They're very fun, especially when you get in a big school of them. These are more of a schooling fish. So when you get one, usually you're going to get a lot more, which is why they're commonly caught at night using lights, especially around crappie houses, which are little houses with a hole in the middle or docks, and lights are shining down, and usually the light will attract crappie to that area, and you can usually get a ton right there. And the reason why they're fish is because they're very good eating. I love eating crappie. Definitely one of my favorite fish to eat, and not that difficult to clean if you know what you're doing. But for the interesting fact we're going to end the video on is actually the how to tell a white crappie from a black crappie. So this is a white crappie, and this is a black crappie. And you're like, oh no, these two look completely different. Well, you'd be right. This is a true blue black crappie coloration, no question. But what about this? Is this a white crappie or a black crappie? Some people would say white. Oh, it's a little whiter and you see these bars. Some people, those bars aren't really prevalent. It's kind of black, and it's, it's kind of difficult. Anyway, that is why it's, I don't trust everyone, when they say, oh, I caught a white or I caught a black crappie, very confident people know what a crappie are, just not whether it's white or black. And the only true way to tell them apart, unless they're just super obvious like this and this, like when you see this sort of amount of modeling, that's not a white. Still, I like to use this method. The only true way to tell them apart is white crappie have a different number of dorsal spines, usually, as compared to black crappie. White crappie usually have 6 dorsal spines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's usually one more, 6. There might be a little one here. Whereas black crappie usually have 7 or 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, the interesting fact is, I saw saying that white crappie only have 6. Last time I had checked the actual scientific literature, white crappie had 6 or 7 dorsal spines, black have 7 or 8. So, you know, it was one of those things. It's like, well, what if you get 7? Well, then you're in that sweet ground. And these do hybridize, I believe. So, you know, it's just an interesting little thing. But let me tell you, I have seen white crappie that I would have sworn based on the coloration they were black crappie. And I've seen black crappie that I'm like, ooh, that's pretty barred. It's got to be a white. Nope. After counting the spines, it's there. But, you know, it's just an interesting little sort of scientific tidbit that, you know, people, fishermen are so convinced, I caught a white crappie, I caught a black crappie. And I'm not trying to take away from them. But if you are a fisherman and you are catching crappie, next time, actively count the spines and see what you get. See if it's actually a black or white. If nothing else, just a little interesting scientific tidbit for you. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope see you again. Thank you so much for the continued love and support for the channel. It is still amazing to me that we're going as much as we have. And I know I've been slacking a little on the videos. I apologize. I'm not meaning to. But, you know, life is beginning to get in the way. But thank you guys so much again. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you do. I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If you'd like to support the channel, please click the link down below. It is by no means expected, but very much appreciated. Regardless, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and peace.